Hi everyone, I am Dima and you're welcome to another interesting pattern drafting tutorial. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to cut a stylish asymmetric neckline conical gown. Yes, from the start, that is the basic pattern drafting to the alteration to the bustier and of course much more. If this sounds like what you'll be interested in, then you have to stay till the end and see everything it took me to make this gorgeous gown. If you've not subscribed to my channel, do well to subscribe and also turn on your notification bell. Let's get started. So to do this, you can see all of the items I'll be using. Everything that is here is what I'll be using in this pattern drafting. So to start, I am going to draw a starting line at the beginning of this paper, just as you can see, and I will go on to take the shoulder measurement divided by 2. Yes, if your shoulder is 14, you will take 7. So I took that measurement at 2 points and then I drew a perfect vertical line, just as you can see here. Now the next is to take the basic neckline of 3 by 3. You can use 3.5 by 3.5 if your client is a bit on the big side, and I connected that with my armhole curve. Now this is the shoulder slope of 1 inch and I connected to the neckline. I dropped by 5 inches and came in there by 3/4. I'll be using it for my armhole later. So this is the bust measurement divided by 4. I marked at 2 points and then I'll be connecting just like this to get a perfect vertical line. Now this is the bust level, okay, and then this is the front half length. I will mark that at a second point so that I will get a perfect horizontal line. So I marked that bust level and of course the front half length, and I had to go ahead and draw my horizontal lines. So now this is the difference between the front and the back half length, which forms the side bust part. This is the bust to bust, which I marked 3 and connected to the bust point. The bust to bust is 6 and the half of it is 3. I marked the same on this waistline and took ½ inch on both sides of it. I dropped here by 1 inch and I'm using that to complete my dart. I hope this makes sense, but if you have any question, please ask in the comments. I will be responding to that. So after this, the next is to draw the armhole. Okay, armhole measurement divided by 2, and I measured that there and I use my armhole curve rule to connect these points. Now the next thing is to measure the underbust. You can as well measure it from the shoulder line, and then I drew a short horizontal line there. Now on this side of the line, I'll take 3/4 inch, and on this side, I'll take 1/4 inch. I'll connect this to the waistline just like this and also connect like that. So after this, I'll connect this same underbust to the bust point this way and this other way. And where I'm shading will be going off at the end of the pattern making. So now this is the waist measurement divided by 4. That is what I'll be marking on that waistline. Waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1/4 inches that intake. Yes, 1/4 inches because the underbust tightening landing on this waistline increased the dart leg by 1/4 inch. I hope this makes sense. I'll connect this to the side just as I did now. So after this, I'll go ahead and take the hip level, which is usually around 8 inches for most people. 8.5 as the case may be. Okay, so I'll go ahead and measure the hip measurement divided by 4 on this level. Okay, now this is the hip level. I'll measure hip measurement divided by 4 here and I will mark. So after marking, I will connect these to the waistline just as you can see me do right now. So connect these to the waistline just like this. Now the next is to go ahead and take the gown length. So any length you want yours to be, go ahead and take it now. So what I did was to take about, I think 14 inches from the waistline. That is what I finally used. Okay, about 14 inches from the, but feel free to use any length that you prefer. But what I used is 14 inches. Now I'm going to connect this hip line to meet this 14 inches line from the waistline. I hope this makes sense. I'll connect just from the hip to the hem of the dress. That's what I mean, if that makes sense. So after connecting it, this is what I have. So now this hip line, I have to mention that it is hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch. Yes, that is what I used on the hip. Hip measurement divided by 4. And on this hemline, I added extra 1 inch. So if what I used on the hip line is 10 inches, what I used on the hem is 11. I hope this makes sense, okay? So increase the hip measurement by 1 inch. That is, if your hip is 40, divide by 4, that is 10. You add 1 inch, which is 11. That is what you're going to use on the hip. And on the hem, you're going to use 12. I hope this makes sense, okay? So that is what I did, and I'm just cleaning up the line that is not useful. That is all I did there, nothing serious. So now the next thing I did was to complete the dart. I had to go down there by 6 inches, and then the bust to bust is 3 inches, and that is what I marked there and connected to the dart leg just like this. So where I'm shedding is the dart intake, of course. So now after doing this, I will go ahead and, draw this line to meet the hemline. Now this is me trying to take a level for the neckline, okay? So you're going to take a marking, a level for the neckline. That is what I did, depending on how low or how high you want it to be. So I'll be using this as a guide to draw the scallop or asymmetric, neckline. So that is what I'm doing right here. I'm just trying to carve out the neckline, yes. So now this is where your artistic nature will come out, right? So after drawing this, I thought of, no, I'm supposed to connect this neckline to the armhole. So I had to clean up what I drew and then retraced it the way it's supposed to be. The neckline is supposed to connect to the armhole based on the pinned picture before drawing the scallop. I hope this makes sense, okay? So watch me and see what I'm going to do. I had to come down here by ½ inch. Okay, you know that this is like in fact it's a tube dress. It's a tube dress, yes it is. So this is how I connected it, and I'll come in here by ½ inch again and connect like this to the side. That's exactly how you contour the side of a tube dress so that it is snuggy on the body and it does not fall off from the body. Okay, that's a contour guideline for tube dress. So I had to redraw the asymmetric neckline or the scallop neckline. So that is what I did here. It has to follow the new neckline shape because this is actually how it is on the pinned post or pinned picture rather. So now I'm going to take these from the bust point to the over bust. You can see. So I now marked 3/4 inch to 1 inch, okay, to take the over bust tightening. So now you can see what I have, and you can see how it has landed on the scallop neckline. I will take it out and redraw the scallop. So you can see me redrawing the scallop just like this. Yes, that is exactly how you're going to do it. In fact, this shape is part of the reason why I took the over bust tightening the exact position I took it. Now, pattern drafting and dressmaking is creativity. You have to do it in a way it's going to come out perfect. I hope this makes sense. So after that, I had to clean up the part that is not needed. So you can see what we have at this stage. I will go ahead and continue with the rest of the pattern. So now you can see what I have here. I just wrote F to depict the front pattern. I'll go ahead and do the back pattern. So now I just drew a line, which is a starting line, and I had to go ahead and mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2 and then drew a perfect vertical line. So after drawing this line, I'll go ahead and measure the neck of 3 by 1. That is what I used there, and I used my armhole curved rule to connect these points. Shoulder slope of 1 inch, and I connected to the neckline like this. So right here is the back half length. So I'm going to take that at 2 points at least, and then I drew my perfect horizontal line for the back half length, which is the waistline, of course. So now what I have is the hip level. I have to take the hip level, which is about 8 inches or 8.5 inches from the waistline, and I drew a vertical line to depict that. So here I had to write waist, and of course here I wrote hip, so that I'll know what it is at a glance and also for clarity for you. So now this is bust measurement divided by 4. and I marked at 2 points at least and drew my perfect vertical line. So now this is 5 inches drop, and I had to go in there by ½ inch. I used this to draw the armhole. This is the half of armhole measurement, and I connected with my armhole curved rule, just as you can see. So the next is the waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake. And here is the hip measurement. So I took that measurement from the hip to where the gown ends for the front. That's exactly the measurement I took for the back as well, because it is the same. Where the difference between the front and the back length is on the half length. So this is me connecting this to the hip and of course extending it to the hem. Just as I said earlier, the difference between the hip and the hem is 1 inch. So if your hip is 40 divided by 4 is 10 plus 1 inch, that is 11. That's what you use on the hip. And on the hem, you are going to use 12. That's what I mean by 1 inch difference. So now you can see me marking the neckline. So this is the neckline for the back. And at this point, I decided to draw my back tightening. You know that I took this back tightening when I was taking the waistline measurement. I had to go in by half first or 3/4 before measuring the waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake on the waist. So now what I'm doing now is to draw the neckline. Okay, I had to draw the neckline, just as you can see. So I just had to take a scallop neckline or asymmetric neckline, just as in front. But at the back, I had to make the level of the scallop to look similar. It's only in front that we had that one that is at the center front higher than the rest, more like asymmetric, right? But this one is scallop that is more like equal in height. That's what I did for the back, but feel free to do what you like at the back. You can actually do the back without a scallop. I just thought of using scallop at the back, but you can do it without a scallop. And this is me cutting out all of those patterns so that we can put them together and then see what the final result looks like. So now this is the side bust dart that I'm closing up. I had to cut it open and close it up, just as you can see. And here, remember to take your seam allowances appropriately. Of course, ½ inch along the bust line, that joining of the bustier, and 1 inch by the side. So this is the dart that I have at the back. Of course, it will be taken while stitching on fabric. If you want it to be cut through, you can still cut a line through the dart line to have the back in 2 pieces, just like in front. So here I have cut these patterns. I've made duplicates of these patterns. I'm just marking the waistline, the underbust, the bust point, and all of that. So you can see this one, the center front is on fold. So I'm going to cut it out on fold because that center front is supposed to be closed. Yes, so I had to place the original pattern on this folded paper to cut it out. But if you're cutting on fabric, this is the time you're going to put all of your seam allowances. Your hem should be at least 1 inch, in fact 1.5. The side should be 1 inch, and every other part ½ inch can go as seam allowance. But I don't put seam allowances on my paper patterns. I like putting it when I'm cutting on fabric. And because I'm sticking this side by side, there is no need to put that seam allowance, but do not forget it when you are cutting on fabric. Please, please, and please. So now I have detached the original patterns, and you can see the duplicate pattern I have for the side front. And now this is what I have for the middle front, just like this. So this is the front pattern, and of course I've gone ahead to as well cut the back pattern. So this is the back pattern. This is the back. So now I'm going to go ahead and stick all of this together so that we see what the final result looks like. So now this is me sticking up the pattern, following all of the lines and sticking it up till I finish it up. Guys, if you've not subscribed to my channel up till this stage, what are you waiting for? Here on the channel, I share lots of pattern drafting tutorials that will definitely benefit both beginner and advanced fashion designer. So do well to subscribe and turn on your notification bell to be the first to know each time I upload my videos. Okay, so right here you can see how far I've gone. I'll go ahead and stick up the remaining part for the length and also the other side. And you can see how gorgeous it's looking already. You can see how beautiful this is. You can agree with me that this looks exactly like the pinned picture. No difference. What we'll now do is to go ahead and arrange the back so that you see how the back matches the front, especially by the side. So I'm not going to like stick up the back, but just look at that. You can see how the side matches perfectly. So the next thing is just to go ahead and put our halter neck strap. So I had to go ahead and cut out small strip so that I will just put on the neckline. This is exactly what you're going to do, but of course when you're stitching, you're going to make a very beautiful neatly sewn strip to attach to the neckline. If you're using your lining, you know how to use your lining and turn up the fabric, and everything is going to be neat and lovely. Of course, you will sandwich the lacing inside between the lining and the fabric so that it will just come out like this and be laced at the back of the neckline. I hope this makes sense. So this is what it looks like when I was done attaching this strap. You can see what it looks like. So you just go ahead and lace it up, of course at the back of the neckline, when you make it. Are you going to try this out? Try it and let me know what your results are. Trust me, it's going to be a perfect one. I am so very sure. So this is what the back looks like. Don't forget to stitch your dart because the dart is included here. So you're going to stitch your dart and of course put your zipper at the center back, because without the zipper, how are you going to wear this? There's no way you're going to wear this. Remember to apply your interfacings and yes, hairstay, wording, or maybe ready-made bra cup and all of that. Just fix it the way it should be. This is a guide to your pattern, so do the rest in a very perfect way and tell me the result that you got, because I know that the fit is going to be perfect. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for always stopping by to watch my videos. I do not take that for granted. So you're also going to use bias strips and then line it all over the length, just as I'm demonstrating with this marker. It's going to be a bias strip. Please bias. When I say bias, I mean you're going to cut it on triangle on bias grain, like the way you place your fabric when cutting your flail. That's how you're going to place it. If not, this bustier line is not going to, if you cut it as a straight piece, is not going to look smooth on the bustier. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and I love you all, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.